Hi, everyone. This is Liz from Media Dev, and today I am joined by our head of market intelligence, Marnelli. Hi, Marnelli.
Hello, Liz. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing today?
Monday, it's pretty busy. Yeah, but yeah, of course, I have time for this.
Awesome. I'm really excited that you're making the time for this today. Our podcast interview topic is the importance of keeping your data clean. And I know this is a very, very important topic for lots of our listeners today. So I'm going to just dive right in and ask you the first question, which is, when we say clean data, what do we mean exactly?
I think for me when we say clean data, we can equate it to quality data, meaning it's accurate and no irrelevant or incomplete information. Also, I think it means that data is written or it was scanned and in the same manner or format or whatever tools you have that where you store your data. I think that that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me how many people have data kind of spread all over the place or lots of different Excel sheets and they're not in the same format, or they have so many of the same entries again and again, or they have, like you said, incomplete or irrelevant
Yeah.
or out
Mhm.
of date, information, and of course in Europe with GDPR, it's so important that your information be opted in and not be outdated. So, it's interesting, I think, when people are able to do an audit of the data that they have so that they can get a big, full picture of what their data looks
Yeah.
like in order for it to start being cleaned. So, my next question is pretty similar. I mean, what is data harmonization and why is that important?
I think in layman's term, it is actually the process of bringing together your data, of different file formats, from relevant varying sources and transforming it into one cohesive data set. So we know that some companies they do have different platforms that they use. So I think data extracted from different platforms are written in different formats. So it's very hard to to gain insight from those types of data. So I think it is very important because it not only that it enhances the quality of data, it also lowers the amount of people the time they spent in data analysis. So I think that's very I mean easier to get insight if data is harmonized, I would
Which
say.
is so critical today. Everyone's talking about getting insights into their data and
Yeah.
how they can maximize the data in order to make faster business decisions. So, yeah, absolutely critical
Exactly.
that data be in a easy to analyze format. So why are data processing procedures essential?
I think for the very obvious reasons. I mean, if I think information could be retrieved easily anytime when when data undergo processing. As the company thrives, the data continues to grow at unprecedented rates. So I think if companies do not have a proper procedure in place, like how how data is collected, how is it analyzed, filtered, sorted, um and how they protect the data. I think it's very it's very tedious, and not only that, some data could be lost along the way, which is
Mhm.
I mean data breach, data loss is very I mean it happens even to those company who are very sophisticated. So and we know that the consequences is not really I mean I think any company would not want to be put in this kind of situations, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the legal consequences alone can be disastrous, but it also goes back to the integrity of the company and their image, and so
Yeah.
many of other things are kind of, extrapolated from that one idea in the first place. And, a lot of companies who have had data breaches, have their reputations destroyed and they're not trustworthy and they
Exactly.
lose business. So absolutely, I agree with you on those points. And it does come down to sometimes the fundamental, more obvious points that you're talking about, at the same time. But, for sure having procedures that are clear, um, is the number one starting point. So
Exactly. Yeah. Mhm.
So why is it important to keep data up to date and clean? I mean, we kind of already touched on this a little bit, but why is this such an important factor for companies today?
Because I think data is one of the biggest assets a company could have, and it means that having quality data, it actually helps organizations, to make informed decisions. I think it also increases companies, negotiation power to secure a deal, because I think there's nothing more convincing or as persuasive as having a reliable data to back you up. I think, like in our case, before we run a campaign or a project, it's actually one of our, I would say, I don't know, selling point. I mean, you pretty much do the business development thing, so I'm sure that you get what I mean. I think if we have data, we know what we're getting ourselves into. So, the chance of a success or how we can position ourselves. So, I think it would be easier during negotiations about how we can secure a project or a campaign. I hope I make myself clear on
Yeah,
that.
no, absolutely. I agree with you when it comes to us. And then even for some of our customers, having data about a particular customer or their buying patterns or their habits. I mean, it all depends. It's like you said before, we have so much more data now than we've ever had as a society. I mean, not just, us, and what you do with that data is so critical. So, and making sure that it's up to date and clean can give you access to, insights like you were talking about, so that you can be in a better position to negotiate or to, sign a deal or, lots of other things. So yeah, definitely agree with you on that point. It's crucial in my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
So how long does it take, for a database to go outdated? Like how long does a data set stay up to date before it's no longer useful?
I think for me that's a very tricky question, because I think it depends on what types of data is being collected and for what purpose. Let's say, for example, let's talk about if we are, gathering data about economic, how do you call that, growth. Like if we are trying to monitor prices or exchange rates. So I think that's very volatile. So it could change like, in a heartbeat. So yeah, and it also depends on for what purpose. Like in a statistic, they're saying that data collected for one purpose should not be used for another one. So I'm not really. Yeah, it's very hard for me to answer this one. Like let's say for us, we pretty much keep track of some companies. So I mean, the company name itself, it may take longer to be updated, but the contact person that we have for that company, I mean, people nowadays can change jobs very often. So that's why it's very hard, for me to say like how long before data can be outdated. So again, it depends on the data that we are that companies are collecting and for what purposes are they being collected.
Sure. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I always say that, data is a living and breathing organism and it is changing all the time. And it's like you said, it kind of depends on what data you're actually talking about. I mean, sometimes companies merge with other ones or they get acquired and the name does change, but, it's kind of not something that's happening every single day. Whereas people in companies, like you said, do change every day. And, sometimes you do have to keep cleaning it, week after week. It's not like, okay, now my data is clean and now I'm done, right? I mean, I kind of think of it like cleaning my house. Like, how great would that be if you could just clean your house once and then it was clean forever? Like, that would be awesome. But it totally doesn't happen. It's like you have to do it every single week. The dust, accumulates and you have to keep doing it. And I think that's the same with the kind of typical, marketing database, at least, from that perspective. I don't think that data lasts for more than a few months before there needs to be little, updates here and there. It doesn't say that you have to throw the whole thing away and start over from scratch, but certainly, regular outreach. And when you do an emailing campaign and then you see that there are bounces, well, okay, then this contact probably is not working there anymore if their email has bounced. So that should probably be cleaned and updated right away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I could have agreed more. Yeah.
So, what are some ways that your team builds new data sets? I mean, for those of you listening, of course, Marnelli heads up the market intelligence team at MediaDev and has many, many people under her wing that are out there sourcing, new data every day. So, what are some ways that your team will go out and build a bit database from scratch?
To be honest, I don't think I can tell you that. Yeah.
So,
I think I just lost
is that
you.
confidential secrets, company secrets that you can't tell us today?
Yeah, just I think we're using algorithm and as well as human intervention, because we cannot replace really humans. So we have a lot of data scientists, data miners who do it for us. I mean, from my team, obviously. So I think how do you call that? So I don't know. I kind of like I feel I'm a loss of words to say here, but yeah, we use different tools. Like I said, we use an algorithm, and people who is more we kind of like dedicate people.
So, for you, what are some best practices when it comes to database management?
I think that's very how to say not rocket science. So number one is, I think being organized. I mean, it's of utmost importance, of course, when you handle huge chunks of data every day. I mean, it's it's paramount to be organized. And then I think too having a standard format. It helps a lot during data retrieval or extractions. So I would also say about having a metadata, so that the information that you stored can be easily discoverable for future use. Also, I think it's also important where you store and secure your data, and yeah, of course, data backup should be prevalent. Of course, if something happens. So I think that pretty much one of the some of the best practices that I can say or suggest to those people who are handling also a huge database in their day-to-day work.
Excellent. Yeah, those are some really, really good points. Of course, making sure that your data is secure, stored in the right place, backed up, not accessible to anybody within the organization. I mean,
Exactly.
obviously
Yeah.
that could be a disaster for certain companies if their data was just accessible to people that shouldn't be authorized to access it. So, excellent. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Marnelli, for taking the time today to talk to us about how to manage databases. And for those of you interested in learning lots of other great tips, advices, and best practices, you can check out our resource library at mediadev.com for lots of other podcast interviews, videos, articles, and guides. So we'll check you again soon for another episode. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks, Marnelli.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye now.